Hello everyone, this is Andy from the Pixel Pub. I'm here to talk about my top 5 classic / mini consoles. Okay, so I was unsure what to call this because, I don't know, the classic branding seems to only apply to the Nintendo stuff and the PlayStation stuff. The other ones, I don't know exactly what they call them. I've heard people call them the minis, which nowhere on these boxes they say mini anywhere. Actually, I'm wrong. One of them is definitely called a mini. Anyway, classic / minis. You all know what I'm talking about. The little baby consoles that were a trend there for a few years past. So let's start at number 5. Number 5 is where it all started for official releases of these things. That is the NES Classic. I didn't go in on this when it first came out because I was like, well, I have most of those games, and then, you know, it's cool that Nintendo, put some effort in and made a really cool thing that people really liked, that, celebrates the NES. But I was like, whatever. And then they re-released it a few years later, and I'd already gotten a few of them. I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm going to get it. And got it modded, added a bunch of other games onto it that I don't have, including a lot of TurboGrafx games. My buddy Chris actually modded it for me, so shout out to Chris. But yeah, cool little thing. 30 classic NES games up here. Doesn't come with 2 controllers. You had to buy a controller, extra controller separately, which kind of sucks. But yeah, it's got some great games on it out the box. Final Fantasy, Super Mario Bros. 3, Punch-Out, Mega Man 2, not Mega Man 3, which, come on. Castlevania, not Castlevania 3. Ninja Gaiden, first one's really good. Second one's really good. They're kind of equal in my mind. Third one's kind of fucked up and very expensive. But yeah, just what a cool little thing. Nintendo fucking putting it out right. For years and years you could find those little like Sega Genesis things at like Walgreens or like department stores and stuff that were just like, they weren't made by Sega. They were just like Sega would license out, and they would just be like little pieces of shit plastic that played like 50 games or whatever. This was Nintendo say, hey, we can do something right and make it good. Okay, number 5 is the PlayStation Classic. The other one using the brand Classic up there. I got this. I pre-ordered this when I was at our fellow Pixel Pub compatriots, Shelby and Josh's house. We were watching wrestling or something on the TV. I can't remember what it was. And the pre-orders have gone up for this on Best Buy. And I didn't know anything about it. I just knew it was a PlayStation Classic. I didn't know the games list hadn't got out or anything like that. I just pre-ordered it. I was like, okay, I got it. Done. I ain't got to worry about it. Then the game list came out and, not great stuff. Like Cool Borders 2, Intelligence Cube, and like you play the first Persona is up here, which is like that's a novelty, I guess. The first Twisted Metal 2 is way better. Why don't you go with that? Battle Arena Toshinden, that's old. Like it was just not a murderer's row of games that you would like to have. They skipped out a lot on the licensing because a lot of the games that were really good on the PlayStation back in the day are now owned by different companies, not Sony. Like they sold off Crash Bandicoot to Activision, I think with Spyro too. So they didn't pay the money to license that stuff to get this stuff on the disc on the box itself. But it's another one of those things where, hey, mod the hell out of it and it becomes a whole lot better. They had issues with the emulation too at the beginning. I think a lot of the games like the Tekken 3 is up here, and Tekken 3 ran at like 50 frames per second. So people are like, this is the European version. Like, what the fuck's going on? But yeah, it's super easy to mod and get the games you want to up there. I haven't checked prices of it recently, but I think I just heard that it was kind of collectible at this point because of that fact that you can mod it so easily and put the cool stuff up there, put the games that the cool kids are talking about. That fucking Castlevania Symphony of the Night. How about that? Okay, number 3 is the Sega Genesis Mini 2, which it definitely says Mini on the box. I never really noticed that until making this video right here. This little sucker, as far as I know, it's only released in Japan. and they made a specific American version that was only sold through Amazon Japan. So that's how I had to order it. Like I couldn't use my Prime or anything. I had to pay for shipping, but I just knew I wanted it because it had 60 games on it, and a lot of them are Sega CD games. And Sega CD is just not something I ever messed around with. Like even with emulation, like I'm only now dipping my toe into disc-based emulation. Like my emulation career started and ended with cartridge games. That was it. I never really messed around with anything else. And to be able to finally play some of these Sega CD games was a whole lot of fun. I even did a video of it on this very channel the day I got it. And I went ahead and streamed me playing a bunch of Sega CD games. And it has, like with the Sega Genesis 1, it has all the stuff that you probably would think of. This one has a lot of the stuff that, you know, hardcore fans would want, like Crusader of Sinti, the fucking Golden Axe 2. It's great. Midnight Resistance, awesome run and gun. The Outrun games, Phantasy Star 2, Rystar's amazing. Fuck, man. Just a lot of cool stuff. Revenge of Shinobi, how is that now on the first one? I don't know. But the Sega CD games, Echo the Dolphin, both of those, which is, you know, whatever. Man. Shining Force CD, Sylphied, Sonic the Hedgehog CD, Ninja Warriors, Sonic the Hedgehog CD. Man. I should probably go ahead and say my Sonic the Hedgehog CD story now. That game, I loved Sonic the Hedgehog growing up, and I never played Sonic CD because I didn't have a Sega CD. And it always remained in my mind as just this fucking weird thing that existed, and I never played it. And when can I play it? I ended up first playing it on the Sonic Gems collection on the GameCube. I bought it specifically for that game, for Sonic CD. I still have it, as a matter of fact. And I remember getting it rung up at like GameStop or whatever, and the clerk was like, "Yo, I heard Sonic the Fighters is up here," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is." He's like, "I think that game's supposed to be pretty good." I'm like, "Well, I'm just playing to play Sonic CD." Well, you should come back here and tell me how Sonic the Fighters is. I'm like, "Sure, dude." I'm never gonna do that. Anyway, I don't like it. I don't like Sonic CD that much. The level design is crazy, and Sonic level design is not the best in the world anyway. But this one's just more, just big maze almost, and then you get the big speed power-up thing, and the game just stops. You have to sit there and let it load, so you can go to the past or the future, and it's just like, I don't know why people love it so much. I don't get it. But it's on here. It's on this mini console, and that's pretty cool. And a lot of other cool games. Fucking Bonanza Brothers. Bonanza Brothers is great. I wish I had a physical version of that game. It's got a great soundtrack. I might put it in this video. Who knows? But yeah, Sonic. Sega Genesis Mini 2. Okay, number 2 is the SNES Classic Edition. This is when I first got in on these classic consoles. I remember the fervor that was around this this little box here when it first came out. People were freaking out, and scalpers were freaking out too because they were gonna make a lot of money. That's where I first found the website BrickSeek, and I was checking local Walmarts and Targets to see if I could find it. I actually got lucky. I didn't have to pay a scalper price. I was eating dinner with my mom. I took her out to dinner to a steak restaurant, eating a nice little thing, and I checked BrickSeek while we were there waiting for food. And a Walmart nearby had some, and I had a little freak out. I was like, I can't just leave this dinner and go get this thing. So we ate dinner, took my mom back home, all that stuff. And then me and Kathy got in the car, drove to this Walmart. It's about 45 minutes away. And I texted my buddy of mine, Mike, and he was looking for one too. I said, hey, this Walmart. He was closer to that store than I was. He was local to him. This Walmart has this SNES Classic. And it was like 11 o'clock at night at this point. We're getting out there. Get out there, wanted the store, check the electronics section. It's not there. It's not there. And as we were leaving, that's when my buddy Mike shows up. And I'm like, dude, I don't see it anywhere in there. We leave. We get about 20 minutes down the road. He calls me. He says, dude, they're here. I got one in my hand. They only let me have one though, but I'll hang around if you want to come back and we can try to get you one. I was like, okay, and I turned around and I came back and found my buddy Mike. He had a fucking Foster's beer in his hand and a bag of Twizzlers and the SNES Classic. And he's like, you can have a good night. But I was able to get it. This is the one I got. Drove back home. Got home at like midnight, 12:30 or something like that, and played it till like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was drinking some beer, having a great time. And another weird part of that night is so strange. I took my dogs out to go to bed, to use the bathroom, and we used to walk around the house. We had a very small little bit of land, and when I had to take my dogs out like that and have them on a leash, if they would start running, I would just run with them, get that little energy out. And I was running, and my leg slipped into the ground. We had a sinkhole issue on the whole right side of our yard that persisted for years after that. The town had to step in and clean out and fix the road and everything around it because the ground was just sinking. And that was the first part of it. My fucking leg went down to my knee into the ground and I fell. Luckily I didn't hurt myself. I was like, man, I could have really messed something up, but I will forever associate that night with getting the SNES Classic. But yeah, what a cool thing. The games up here, absolute bangers, banger after banger after banger. Super Mario RPG, Super Mario World, Contra 3, Zelda, Super Mario Kart, Yoshi's Island, Star Fox, Kirby's Dream Course, Final Fantasy 3, Super Metroid, just awesome stuff. Super Castlevania 4, Mega Man X, one of the best games of all time. All right here. Also, in case you need to know, very easily moddable. So that's number 2, SNES Classic. Okay, number 1 is a fun one because it is the system I know the least about, and I got it as soon as I heard about it. I'm like, getting this. It was released only through Amazon, and that's the TurboGrafx Mini. Also, it uses the Mini naming in this thing, but this thing is cool as hell. The TurboGrafx was a system contemporary with the NES and Sega Genesis that I didn't have as a kid, but I'd seen commercials of them. Like I knew what Bonk's Adventure was. I knew it existed. For some reason, I was scared to ask for extra consoles when I was a kid. I was like, no, my parents are gonna say no. They're gonna think I'm crazy if I want more than one. And then when I got 2, I was like, they're really gonna think I'm crazy if I want more than 2. But we eventually got a TurboGrafx 16. We have a real one, but we only have a handful of games on them because they're very expensive. This is a way that I can play them for realsies with the real controller, because we only have a real TurboGrafx controller. We have a turbo stick. It's like a arcade stick. I can't find a original controller to save my life. And out in the wild, I know I can get one off eBay or whatever. But I want to see one at a shop or whatever and pick it up. But this one's up here because it has a ton of games on it, a ton of stuff that was brand new to me, and a ton of Turbo CD games. Stuff like East 1 and 2. Stuff like fucking Lords of Thunder. Lords of Thunder is one of my favorite shooters of all time. It has an incredible soundtrack. It has a credible shooter. I'm not that super huge fan of shooters, but it's got like the shop where you can go in and upgrade your weapons and stuff, and you got the different elemental like robots you basically inhabit, and you just go around in that. Like I said, the soundtrack again is fucking amazing. It says I think it is Redbook Audio on that stuff with Lords of Thunder. But yeah, East Book 1 2, where it started for East, doesn't hold up that great. I had originally played it on the Virtual Console, but I was nice to have it played in here with the original controller. But like, I think one of my favorite games up here that I wasn't expecting was another shooter, and that's Airzonk. Airzonk is amazing, and it's like, I don't know, a couple $100 if you want to get a physical version. Stuff like Newtopia 2, the Zelda clones on the TurboGrafx. The pinball games, Alien Crush, Devil's Crush. I think Devil's Crush is up here. Alien Crush definitely is. Anyway, and it's got all the games from the Japanese version. They didn't take them off the system for each territory. They said, hey, just put them up there. If you can read it, you can read it. It's got stuff like Snatcher. Like, I can't read it, but I can see it. But yeah, that's the TurboGrafx Mini. Number 1 of my top 10 mini/classic consoles. Okay, that's been my top 5 mini/classic consoles. If I missed any, let me know. I have a handful more. I don't have every single one. I don't have like the Commodore 64 or anything like that, because that really doesn't interest me too much. But yeah, tell me what your favorite is in the comments. Let me know. Let me know how I'm wrong, and I'll tell you how I'm right. I've been Andy from the Pixel Club. Peace out.